to shrink down the paddles first of all. They're a bit big. I could do that in the programming, but it'll take up a little bit less memory if I do it in the actual images. Here's my purple brick. It has a width of 38 and a height of 228. If I half those, if I make this 18 and the height is automatically made 114, press OK. So it's now half the size. The same with the other brick. Tools, adjust size, 18, OK. Tools, adjust size. It should be 18 wide. It is OK. That's good. For the purple brick, tools, adjust size. That's fine. But they've been resized. Just in the program, we have to tell the program that we've resized it to 18 and 114. 18 and 114. Let's see what that looks like. That looks a little bit better. The bouncing seemed to have happened a little bit early on that. We have to look into that. And a little bit late on this side. Must be something off with my code where it's bouncing. Okay, where was like this? When I made the centers, I think that might be a bit off. I have S1 over here instead of S2. Let's save that. Let's see what it looks like now. Okay, does it bounce on time? Yep, perfect. And we have, perfect. Okay, so that totally works. When it misses, we want it to miss all the way. So if you miss the paddle, I want it to just sail right through that side. I don't want it to bounce off the side. Okay, it looked like it bounced off of that paddle when it had no business bouncing off the paddle. Let's see what happens if the paddle is as far away from it as possible. Yeah, it's bouncing early. Let's see if that's happening here as well. Yep, bouncing early. We need to see why it's bouncing. It should be dy, not dx, dy. The first one should be dy, the second one should be dx. The x distances are less than 1/2 of the sum of the heights. The heights are vertical distances, so it's dy. All right, so let's try that now, refresh. So we're gonna miss it with the paddle, and it should right now bounce across the wall. Okay, and it does. Miss the paddle on the other side. Do we hit the wall? Good. All right, and if we hit the paddle on this side, does it hit the paddle? Perfect. Now we want the ball to just keep sailing on when it misses. In the sprite code, we want the ball to bounce off the edges. So in the move, if it gets wider than the width of the screen, then it should disappear. If the x is greater than the width, we want it to go right off the screen. So I'm just going to add this on. So it's like once it goes off the screen, we are going to score. I'm going to make a function called red scored. And if we go off the screen the other way, we're going to make blue score. When that happens, the ball has to disappear, the score has to change, a new ball has to appear. Now there's a couple of things we can do. We don't want it to happen in an instant because the computer is going to do that in under a second. You're going to see the ball disappear and then the ball reappear somewhere else on the screen. When one side scores or the other, you want some sort of celebration to happen. You want it to play something like cheering. You hear a cheering sound, and when that cheering sound is over, it will drop the new ball. I need to get some cheering. The place I like to find cheering is on YouTube. The best cheering in the world is at when people score in soccer on YouTube. So I have cheer. Let's put those into Audacity. And that's a cheer for when you win a game. So when the game is won. Let's see what else we have. We have a warning sound. That's the sound that we're going to play just before the ball drops. That'll be a bounce of the ball. And I have several of those. To make those sounds, all I did is I just did this to make the sound of the bouncing ball. You can make any sound you want, but I took that, recorded it, slowed it down, sped it up, did some stuff with it. I have 4 or 5 of those, and it just randomly picks one. Then I have a game over sound, which I got from, of course, the movie Aliens 2. Game over, man. Game over. I also use these sounds as timers. So I need to have a sound over function, and it senses when a certain sound is over. When it's finished playing, it does something. When the warning sound is over, it drops the ball. I also want to make a button that starts it all off. I need some sort of starting button. Let's start that in the HTML. I'll just build a simple button, and we'll put an image in the button. Down here, I'll make a div for that button. Div ID, I'm going to call it start div. Inside that div, I'm going to make a button. Just for now, I'm just going to put in the text start. Later on, we'll change it to an image button. So start, let's give the button an ID equals button ID equals, I'm going to call it my button or start button. I think that's more descriptive. Something simple like that. On click, we're going to go to start game or start play, something like that. That has to be in quotes. We need to have a function called start play. inside the JavaScript. So I'm just going to put that down here. But I'm going to make another document that's just going to have all my utilities in it. New file, call it utilities.js. We're going to have the function start play. Let's make a variable for the sounds. Warning sound equals new audio. The warning source .src is equal to, I have to put these inside that folder. Here's our game one. Here's my sounds. Hold down the option so it copies them all. Puts copies in here. And that was inside sounds, not audio. Sounds / warning.mp3. I'm going to put a listener in there, an event listener, and we're listening for ended. When it's ended, we're going to go to warning over. So we're going to make a function called warning over function. So when the warning is over, we're going to start the ball in the center of the screen, the ball sprite. Let's go back into the game utility. I'm going to say the ball dot x is going to be at, what's the width and the height of the screen? I need to know that. The width of the screen is 800 and the height is 500. Halfway will be 400 and 250. Ball x is equal to 400. Ball y is going to be 250. We want the sprite to randomly take off. We have code for that here. I'm just going to make its velocity random. Copy that code. Back in utilities, I'm going to make ball.vx is equal to myrand from -4 to 4 and ball.vy myrand -4 to 4, but not being 0. That means initially when we first make the ball, instead of giving it a random velocity, we're going to make its position, let's put it at -1,250, and its velocity 0. So it's not moving and it's off the screen. We're going to park it at this -1,000 spot. We probably need to handle that also in the JavaScript sprite. We have, if it is less than 0, blue scores. So we have to also say that if it's less than 0 and greater than -1,000, and this x is greater than, instead of -1,000, -900. How's that? Otherwise, blue would be scoring all the time, and we don't want that to happen. So we're going to back into the game. We set it at -1,000, 250. We give it a velocity of 0, 0. It has a width of 50 and a height of 50. When we press the start button, utilities tells us to go to start play. Start play will start the warning sound, warning.play. Then when the warning is over, the ball will be dropped. Let's save this. Let's put a copy of this in the HTML. We're using utilities.js. Let's see if that works. We have our button. We also want to make the button disappear. We don't want the button to hang around. Back into the utilities. As soon as we start the play, we have to make the button disappear. Window document get element by ID. That's our start button. We'll hide the whole div that it's in, not just hide the button. And the div that it's in is called start div. So we'll hide the div. Start div dot style dot display is equal to none. We also have to put our start div inside our CSS. So this is our first CSS start div. So we're talking about the instance. So hashtag start div, as opposed to a class or anything like that. Position is absolute. The top, 200 pixels. The left is, let's say 200 pixels, 350. Display is going to be block, so we can see it. Let's save all that. Let's see if any of this works. Here's our start button. I click it. I'm not hearing any sounds. No, nothing. Let's see why. Let's go into our audio, into our sounds folder, and we have warning.mp3, so that should totally work. We have utilities here, and everything looks great. Inside utilities, I'm just going to put a console log saying that we're in start play. Should be playing the sound. Here's what we have right now. If I run this, we have a little start button. We click on the start, and you hear this little alarm going off, and then when the alarm's over, the ball shows up. And then the ball moves across the screen. If I hit the ball, if we miss the ball, then we get this thing happening where we, like purple should have got a goal. We should have got purple scores. Let's go to our code and make that happen. In our sprite code, we have red score and we have blue score. The problem is this red score function and this blue score function, they don't exist. Let's go and make the red score and the blue score. So in utilities, I'm just going to go and make a function called red score. We're going to play a sound, a cheering sound. I'm going to make a variable called cheer. It's going to be an audio, so new audio. We're going to give it an event listener, just like the warning had. Cheer.add event listener. When it's over, we're going to say cheer. We're going to send it to cheer over. We need to copy the warning over function and make cheer over. When cheer over is called, it's going to play the warning sound like that, warning.play. When red scores, the cheer should happen. So we're going to say cheer.play, cheer.play. We'll keep a score. We'll make a score variable. var score, and we'll make the score equal to 0. Actually, we need two scores. We need red score, we need blue score. So red score will be 0 to start, and blue score will be 0 to start, like that. When red scores, red score will go up by 1. I will just copy that for blue score. Blue score should be lowercase b. Uppercase and lowercase for variables is reserved for, if it's uppercase, it means it's an object. If we make a variable like for the ball is an object, it should be uppercase. But because the score, it's not an object, it's just a number, it should be lowercase. We're making the red score go up by 1, making the blue score, we're playing the cheer sound. When the cheer sound is over, the ball gets dropped. The warning plays. When the warning sound is over, the ball gets dropped. Let's see if that works. I press the start. So it's going beep, 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 and then the ball gets dropped. Okay, I'm going to intentionally miss this. Getting an error, red score is not a function. And we're talking about red score as a variable, but it's not defined. There we are. Okay, let's try that, and still, red score is not a function. I have a function called red score. I also have a variable called red score. You can't do that. You can't have a function and a variable with the same names. In the utilities, we have red score, but the function is also called red score, and you can't do that. So I'm going to call this red scored as my function, and blue scored, past tense, like that. In the sprite.js, it should be red scored and blue scored. If we go back to here, refresh that, start. Okay, let's move that out of the way. And then console log. Let's see what's happening in here. We are in start play, should be playing sound. We should be playing sound. We pressed 40, we pressed 38, okay. But there's nothing happening in my red scored. It was supposed to play a sound, a cheer, didn't hear it. Let's see why. The sound is called cheer. It should be cheer.scr, should be this. Sounds cheer1.mp3. Save that. I'm going to run that, and it will work now.